We got some exciting news for you guys. Let's start with Curve Finance. They lost $1.5 billion so far. And no, it's not all black hat. Some of it is actually white hat. But they see $1.5 billion removed after the hack. That's not good, people. That would be a record hack. So basically, cryptocurrency, this is from Bloomberg, cryptocurrency worth more than 1.5 billion has been removed, some stolen, some moved from safekeeping from decentralized exchange Curve Finance. So we can say that Curve Finance may not recover from $1.5 billion. If it was only a couple of million, maybe they'll recover. 1.5 billion, no way. And we don't really know how much of it's actually been stolen, but if it's even 25% of 1.5 billion, that is $300 million. Curve has actually dropped substantially today, and it could be a mortal blow, a finishing move to Curve Finance. So I would actually not buy CRV right now because things, they don't look so good. And yes, so it is with the Viper exploit, and you guys have to be careful with other EVM projects because anything that uses Viper can be exploited. Hopefully none of you have money in CRV, and hopefully none of you got your money back. If you did, none of you actually lost money. If you did lose your money in Curve, there is a chance you will get it back because some of it is white hat and they will actually be giving some of the money back. If your money did not get stolen by a white hat hacker, you are probably up a creek without a paddle, and you will probably not be able to recover your money. This is a massive, massive exploit. It could actually give the entire Ethereum ecosystem problems because there has been problems with Solidity as well. But this particular one only really affects Curve. Once again, there's 4 main liquidity pools that have actually been hacked, and we talked about that in the last video. Unfortunately, Curve is one of the most important liquidity providers in DeFi, especially for stablecoins. So a lot of people might actually be looking to elsewhere. So basically, the DeFi industry, I do believe, will actually survive the hack. Curve, however, might go the way of the buffalo. So the borrowing and the lending for Curve, CRV, probably going down the drain. But you could definitely look to other places if you are looking for DeFi investment. Look to other chains, look to Cardano, even Solana, some of the others. Maybe those programming languages are more safe and they're not as vulnerable to being destroyed by a hacker. So yeah, Curve, not good. DeFi will survive, but Curve Finance may not. It might be a blow to the whole Ethereum EVM system because Curve has actually been exploited, and there's more than one EVM system that actually uses Curve. I wasn't able to find a list of which EVM systems actually use Curve, but there's more than one, so you might want to check out your particular protocol. Another piece of news, HEX starter Richard Hart has finally been sued by the SEC. We all knew this was coming sooner or later. My guess is that the SEC is suing Richard Hart for an easy win. They lost the Ripple one. I doubt they can win against other legitimate coins. So they're suing what really just looks to be a Ponzi scheme. And if they win against the Ponzi scheme, they might be able to try to use that judgment in other court lawsuits, but I do think judges will actually see the difference. But HEX is a different lawsuit altogether. This is from The Verge. The SEC is not only suing him for selling unregistered securities. I actually hope that HEX wins that part. But the SEC is actually alleging Richard Hart for outright fraud. And I think that Richard Hart is not in the United States right now, but if he's a U.S. citizen, this does actually apply to him. The SEC alleges, and I actually believe the SEC in this one, they spent at least $12 million in investor funds, which you can't do, to buy luxury goods. What kind of luxury goods? Well, sports cars and a rare black diamond. How big was this diamond? Rumors say it was 555 carats. If you don't really understand, black diamonds are worth a lot of money by themselves, but a 555 carat diamond, massive, massive, and that is definitely misappropriation of funds. The thing is, HEX doesn't really have any other purpose besides staking and basically generating more of itself. And Pulse Chain always looked kind of fishy because he essentially just forked Ethereum, forked all the projects of Ethereum, and then try to convince people that he had all the developers too. But that's generally not how it works. Just because you actually forked a project does not mean you get all the developers along with that project. So HEX has a lot of issues right now for people to deal with. I think HEX and Pulse Chain are basically done at this point. I mean, they were pretty much dead even before this all started. I mean, they were down like way, way, way down, more than any other coins at this point. And Pulse Chain never really got off the ground anyways. So the thing is, like, he's living in Finland right now. And I don't know what kind of extradition treaties Finland has with the United States, but he's trying to basically promote his products, HEX and PulseX token. He used $12 million to buy luxury goods. And of course, HEX and Pulse Chain were falling off the face of the earth even before this. But I think most people that watch this channel do know that HEX was a Ponzi scheme from the beginning. Richard Hart himself even said, it looks exactly like a Ponzi scheme until you look deeper into it, and then it's not a Ponzi scheme. I'm just like, yeah, that magic mirror doesn't really work for me. Still looks like a Ponzi scheme no matter how much I actually look into it. And he says his investments were promoting free speech, but the SEC claims he never revealed what he actually spent millions of dollars of Pulse Chain investor funds to buy luxury goods himself. Obviously, I mean, he's just like using the money for purposes that he actually shouldn't use them for. He also bought a $534,000 McLaren sports car, a $300,000 Ferrari Roma, and a $1.38 million Rolex watch. And of course, he spent $5 million investor assets to purchase the Enigma. Additionally, the lawsuit states that from December 2019 to November 2019, Hart accepted over 2.3 million Ethereum valued at $678 million in exchange for HEX tokens. Remember, Hart is guaranteed to control all the HEX supply because for every HEX that's minted, Richard Hart also gets a copy. That obviously is a formula perfect for fraud and other things, so you should have never actually believed in Richard Hart from the beginning. Next piece of news, Vechain Cardano will be at this thing called Evo.io conference. Yes, Evo.io conference. And it is a big blockchain / Web3 conference. Charles, Sonny will all be there, including many other crypto foundations. You have IOHK, Emergo, Cardano Foundation, Vechain. Those are the top four. You also have Hive, MetaMask, Bitmain, Ape Society, SingularityNet. Some people are thinking that Cardano is going to team up with Vechain. I haven't really heard about that so far, but they are going to be some of the main exhibitors there. There's also going to be a lot of DeFi and NFT projects, as well as metaverse projects. Should be a blast. It's in Denver. If you want to go, you should actually buy tickets now. A couple of crypto influencers like BitBoy and Wendy will also be there. So it should be a pretty good time for those of you that are going. And Cardano will be one of the major speakers. Obviously, there's a lot of other stuff like, FedEx, Microsoft, a lot of big companies will actually be there as well. Denver, Colorado, August 24th through 26th. A lot of people are hyping this up. I personally think it's probably just another conference, but it is an interesting one, especially because Cardano and Vechain will actually take center stage at this particular conference. So good and exciting time for everyone that's gone. I'm still kind of like wanting to see how the HEX lawsuit actually turns out with Richard Hart, because the HEX lawsuit, like the Binance lawsuit, I think it's stronger than the Binance lawsuit, and the SEC knows that they are weak and reeling after the Coinbase lawsuit, so they're trying to pick up a win any way they can. If HEX managed to defeat him on the securities point, I don't think Richard Hart's going to win on the fraud point, but if HEX managed to defeat the SEC in terms of the securities allegations, then that's done, man. The SEC is gone. Like, cryptos are not securities. If you can't prove that HEX is an unregistered security, you're not going to be able to prove that anything else is an unregistered security. I mean, think about it. If you can't prove a coin that basically gives the creator one of the coin for every coin that's minted or sold, then you can't prove anything else is security. Therefore, even though I dislike Richard Hart and I think he's a scammer, I am actually rooting for Richard Hart to win against the SEC on that point. The other point where he bought a bunch of black diamonds and a bunch of sports cars, that's obviously like money laundering fraud, and I think he will actually have to pay his comeuppance. But the thing is, he's not in the United States, so I'm not really sure if the Netherlands will actually extradite him. I don't know how that relationship is, and what kind of criminal charges the SEC will file against him, I don't know. But I do think HEX and Pulse Chain are more or less finished. I suppose he can pump and dump again, but I don't think any centralized exchanges are going to list Pulse and HEX anytime soon. At least not in the United States. And that will like stymie it for the next bull run. So I probably wouldn't buy those coins anyways. But I think Richard Hart has been like playing people for years, that he got really people into the HEX system, and he's made a lot of money himself out of it. But in the end, I definitely think some people made money out of it, but I definitely think overall it was a scam in the long run, and that's finally showing off now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you, and have a nice day.